And so I see nothing wrong with engaging on the fantasy, so long as you know your decision-making mechanism. Enjoy a daydream that feels good. Allow your vibration to rise. Allow your sense of love and appreciation for life and self-acceptance to be present, to look from the present into the future with compassion, with love, with joy, with positive expectation. I don't know all the details of how I'm going to get there or what's exactly going to happen. And I know it's okay because I'm reverse engineering from my fantasy by allowing my body to live its life. Hello there, and welcome once again to Dharma Science Radio. Today we're talking more about the path of least resistance, human design, and how law of attraction fits into this system. How these seemingly polar opposite systems can actually make sense together in the face of modern scientific discovery. And so this is something I've been finding quite fascinating in my own logical and belief system exploration of reality, in understanding what's going on in this world. I don't know if you've heard, however, someone was given the Nobel Prize for proving that reality is not locally real. And now that's actually a misnomer. There's a video I can link down here in the show notes, which clarified for me that it's actually, there is either local reality, as in it's proximal, it's within the area, it's local, it's linear, you can see it with your eyes, or it is true and it's non-local. So it's as if there is the relative hologram of separation on one end, and then on the other end there is the non-local transcendental self that is all-inclusive. And this was from the science, basically. This is my interpretation of the science that was done, that basically reality is either local or it's real. It's either relative or it's true. And so what a powerful binary that is. This is why I find such a deep value in this notion that reality is vibrational as primary. It is the non-local as the primary, and this relative illusion, this hologram we have where I pick something up and then I let go of it and it falls to the ground, this linear order of operations that occurs, this is the hologram. This is what's technically not real and not true. And yet the thing is we're touching it, we're tasting it, we're hearing it, we're feeling it. So how can we say it's not true? Well, I would say it's simply a technicality, because the fact of the matter is we are feeling, we are living, we are breathing, eating beings, exchanging energy with one another. And what could be more true than the felt experience of our lives? And so is the law of attraction not self? Is it fundamentally not self in order to manifest from your thoughts? I would say yes and no. I would say yes and no. It depends on the context. Because the thing is, any and everything can be done in a good way or in a bad way, in the right way or in the wrong way. You see, there's right timing for everything. Are you trying to open a business so that you can feed your family? So you can create generational wealth to benefit your community? You know, that sounds great to me. Are you trying to build a business to extort as much as you possibly can from your employees and use up and deplete all of the resources that are available for your own personal private profit? Well, it seems pretty downhill to me, personally. And so the key here is that it's all in the vibration of the behavior and not the behavior itself. And so is it not self to participate in law of attraction? You know, sometimes yes, sometimes no. I see it right now as a deeply valuable mental conceptualization program. You know, I used to be very sad. I used to be very depressed when I was a child, and I didn't really know why. I simply was sad. I was not happy with what was going on, and I didn't like it. And one day I discovered that I didn't like the taste that was left in my mouth from that sadness. It was as if I was spiraling downward, onward and onward and onward and onward and onward, more and more and more, farther and farther down. That I could dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into this sadness forever. And one day it was like, I don't like that taste in my mouth. I think I've had enough of that. I want to move on from that. And you know what? The fact that it seems like I could dig deeper and deeper forever into this pit of eternal sadness, it must mean the opposite is also true. It must mean that there is a spiral formation that will allow me to rise up and up and up, higher and higher and higher, to even greater heights continually, eternally. And I basically devoted my life to figuring out what that is, that duality there between forward and backward, up and down, and to be able to consciously steward my own ship, my own vessel, towards the direction of my preference, which happens to be love. It happens to be light. It happens to be joy. It happens to be sharing. It happens to be good energy. It happens to be health. It happens to be another deep breath on this planet Earth. And so as a generator or a type, I accept that my ajna does not determine my life. I accept that my thinking process does not determine my life. For you see, I have a defined sacral center. This means that I have a fixed relationship with the life force of reality as it is generating, using itself, and then regenerating. So this natural, attractive, enveloping aura of the generator that's always pulling to me what belongs to me, so that I can respond and be like, yes, I like that, or no, I don't like that, actually, I prefer something else. Being able to trust my body in this process, not simply my mind, is key for me. You know, it is number one, top dog, most important thing. And I don't want anybody listening to this to imagine that if you're a generator, you can simply think whatever you want and call it into your life. Like if you're going to sit at home and meditate for 20 hours a day, something profound might happen, sure. And I can't necessarily recommend it because it doesn't feel very practical. You see, this is the key in this life, is that there needs to be a certain practicality to it, especially as someone who is sharing the science of Dharma. I need to be able to be practical so that you can actually receive benefit from this. So as a generator, I trust my body. I trust the yes and the no. I trust the feeling of expansion and the feeling of contraction that happens from the inside before I've even thought about this or that. And that's my number one, is I trust my body. And the thing is, beyond that, when I'm, say, in an environment that my mind thinks is not the right environment, I might feel a little sad again. I might feel not so happy, and I might start thinking about things in a certain way that's not very productive, and it's not very beneficial. It's not very wholesome. And yes, I can wait to respond as I do. And I can also cultivate positive, centripetal, vortex motion thinking. And now what do I mean by that? I mean self-referential. I mean holistic. I mean positive, engaging, nurturing, cultivating, loving, thinking energy. As I mentioned in the previous episode on this series, the brain is plastic. It is changeable. Our mind and our thoughts can change. And so being able to embrace that, being able to embrace the fact that we don't have to think the way we've always thought. And this is easy for me to say as an undefined ajna, because I don't think in a specific way, you know? I don't have a fixed mental track where it's like, this is the only way that I think, and this is how I'm always going to think, and it's not the way for me. My natural openness allows me to develop wisdom around concepts and the mind, and it also allows me to get lost in the sauce and get absolutely captivated by things that don't matter from my open crown. And so the thing is so long as I'm trusting my body's response mechanism, it doesn't matter what my mind is thinking, according to the teachings from Ra. Because your mind could be really messed up. And if you trust your body, then your mind being messed up is part of that process, and it's okay. You don't have to mentally attach and amplify that feeling of being messed up into something worse. And on the other side of the spectrum, if you are cultivating a vibration within your thinking pattern that has you feeling good, perhaps you don't have to experience a mind that's so messed up. Perhaps you can actually create your own reality. After all, that's the job of the magnetic monopole at the very core of our G centers, is that it holds us together in our hologram of separation, and it moves us along our line of geometry. So we talked a little bit about this hologram situation earlier, this notion that reality is either local or it's real. And so the local is the relative and it is the linear. The real is the transcendental, faster than light mechanism that is everywhere all at once. And so the magnetic monopole is what holds us together in this hologram of separation. So it gives us a place within the linear mechanic that we can relatively see everything all around us, because it is attracting from the non-linear field of truth what energy an individual is actually resonating with. What vibration are you emitting, and what harmonics of that vibration are actually being drawn in? Well, the key mechanism in human design is trusting the inner authority and type strategy. So I'm a generator, I'm here to respond. This is the natural mechanism for me. I trust it. And in trusting that, the cells of my body are being reborn into self-trust and understanding and acceptance of who I am, alignment with my inner being. And I can learn to consciously receive and claim what is mine. You know, I'm a 952, a channel of concentrations with the tone of meditation as my sense and my personality. And so the practice of meditation is natural for me. Maybe it's not so natural for other people. And yet for those of us who resonate with it, being able to sit in that meditation, being able to find your depth and being able to receive what is meant for you, I can say that it feels wonderful. It gives powerful inspiration that can then guide the direction forward. And see, right there, that sounds a little dangerous. Now it's like I've received a thought in my head and boom, I've received a thought and now I'm going to act upon it. Or I received a thought and now I have more fuel for my response mechanism. You see, I'm also an emotional generator. I have a solar plexus definition, which means I am waiting for emotional clarity before I respond, before I really act, before I really make decisions. And so that process of meditation, this process of tuning into myself, allows me to receive that clarity, I feel, in a more direct way. It allows me to consciously cultivate the space that allows for that clarity to arrive. And you know, Ra would say that with the emotional authority, it's not about thinking things through, it's simply chemistry in the body, which is what determines the emotions. And as that chemistry goes through its transformational processes, sooner or later, there is this feeling of clarity that arises, and it goes up into the mind and it becomes, oh, it's clear now. I know what I am here to do. I know what my response is for that thing. And by thinking in a preferred way, by thinking in a way that is not in the way of what I want. And so the basic fundamental mechanic here from the law of attraction is that we don't obsess over what we do not want. For you see, that's what I don't want. That's what I really don't want to happen. And now I'm going to make sure and do everything I possibly can to make sure that does not happen, because I do not want that to happen. And if anything else happens, that'll be okay. But if that one thing happens, I'm going to be so upset. And perhaps you can feel how that is attracting what is not preferred For you see, that is the central focus of what I was just sharing there, is the focus of what is not preferred. Whereas, I would love if that were to happen. That would be so exciting. It would be so much fun. I can feel it now. I can already taste it. I can even see it in my imagination. I can smell the smells that are involved there. I can touch it in my imaginary hands. And it feels so good, even though I know it's not here yet. And I can accept that there is a pathway that will lead me there. I don't need to know all the details for how to get there. I can simply feel it on the tip of my tongue. At the broad edges of my consciousness, I can feel the massive gifts that are awaiting me, all of my greatest desires right around the corner, and it's going to show up any moment, and it's okay how long it takes. Because any moment could be this moment, could be this moment, could be this moment, could be 20 years from now. And the thing is I'm okay with the journey along the way. Perhaps you can feel the difference in the energy between those two projections I just shared. The whole conceptual field and the emotional energy behind them were radically different. One is focused on the negative of what is not preferred and calling that in. The other is recognizing and feeling and being in love with the joy of what one does prefer. And if I'm busy vibrating at the frequency and the energy of my preference, then when something that's not my preference shows up, it goes, oh, okay, well, let me deal with that, and boom, next thing. No big deal. Because I know that I'm moving on the journey towards my preference. And I can trust my body's response mechanism along the way. As an emotional being, sometimes I'm not very happy. Sometimes I'm feeling sad, or sometimes I'm feeling down in my wave. As an emotional being, sometimes I'm not feeling very happy. Sometimes I'm down in my wave. And in those moments, as an emotional being, sometimes I simply let myself dive into it. I simply let myself dive into the negative feelings and essentially make the most of them. I really feel them as much as I possibly can, like having a real good cry. And other times I feel it, this negative emotion welling up, or this negative energy, and I simply sit with it. I be with it. I let it rest. And in that rest, perhaps, bing, there's a moment of inspiration. There's a crack in the wall of sadness that is then, oh, there's a shift in the energy. And in the acceptance of the perfection of life fundamentally, I can be okay with either. Because I know that no matter where I'm going, no matter what I'm doing, I am going towards my desires. I'm going towards my highest joy and towards my highest truth. And it feels good to do. So something that's really fascinating as a thought experiment for anybody who's playing around between human design and the law of attraction is to pay attention to your open center, not self themes. And if you're a split definition, the bridging gates that connect one center to another and bridge your split. Because if you pay attention to these, you'll notice something about the thought forms you're thinking. Another factor here is your own transference. If your birth time is accurate enough to see what your transference is. Say, I'm a hopeful motivation person. I'm here to know what not to involve myself with. I'm here to know, oh, that is not my problem. I can let that be exactly what that is and breathe over here and let my life unfold as it naturally does. My transference, on the other hand, is guilt. Guilt is all about fixing things. It's all about solving the problem. It's all about doing something about what is going on and knowing how to fix the problem. So if I find myself imagining this feeling of, oh, I'm going to fix it like this, and oh, I'm going to fix it like that, and all these things, and I'm definitely going to go out there and do it, and I'm going to make it happen, and hold on. That's not actually positive self-talk. I'm a generator after all. I'm not here to go out there and make it happen. I'm hopeful motivation. I'm not here to go fix it. Perhaps I can tap into that energy from time to time. I can witness it come through and, oh, hey, look, I fixed that thing. That's cool. However, if I obsess with it, if I focus on it, I lose sight of my intelligence. And so how can I allow myself to sit with my hope and know what I'm not here to interfere with, and let that be what it is. So that when it is time for me to respond to something, I have the energy available to do what it is I'm here to do. And so on these not self, undefined center themes, here we have a body graph chart. And right here in the G center, this is the first one I'm going to look at right here in the center. This is looking for love and direction outside of oneself. And so that's quite a profound thing to think about with law of attraction is, are my thoughts around having a partner? Are my thoughts about having direction in life? Well, yeah, they happen to be about that. I'm an undefined G center myself, and I happen to really want to have a loving life partner. I want to have connection to somebody in this way that allows that physical, emotional, spiritual, material support and exchange of energy. And I can feel and imagine the joy of being engaged in that process. And it's wonderful, it's great. And I can also feel in my body, in my vehicle, when I am behaving in alignment with going toward that life. And I can see when I'm behaving in alignment of simply fantasizing about it and not moving toward it. And that's my desire after all, that's part of my desire. And I could say it's a not self desire, or I could honor the fact that it's simply what my mind wants. Is it what my body wants? Well, we will see what my body wants. And I trust it along the way. I give my mind enough freedom to go where it wants to go and do what it wants to do in its field of the Maya. All these words and terms and communications. I let my mind roam free. So long as my body can find its satisfaction, that's all I need. Whatever I'm doing, I can keep going. Over here in the heart center, the not self theme is to need the approval and the validation from others. To need to feel that other people are giving you the approval. They're giving you the validation, like, yes, I really care about you. You're so great. You did such a good job. And so maybe that's what your mind wants to think about. Maybe you want to think about a space wherein you're doing a good job and people tell you that. You could engage that in your mind. You can let your mind know that you do want that thing. And then instead of engaging with resistance, instead of saying, oh, well, this is just trying to prove my worth. I'm just trying to improve myself and this is not good. Instead of engaging with that, breathe with it. Allow yourself like, yes, I do enjoy the feeling of receiving approval from others. I do enjoy when I receive praise from someone. And that's okay. It's not the guiding force in my life. It's not the decision-making mechanism in my life. This is the key difference. Where do you make your decisions from? So the mind can engage with all these various desires. Not self, true self, whatever you want to call it. The mind can engage with all these desires. And if the mind does not engage with resisting that desire for one reason or another, then you've entered a special place. Then you've entered a place that can go beyond what is ordinary. It can go beyond the pattern. Because this is what allowed us to survive, was this resistance working program. It's like in an undefined ego, needing to prove oneself, needing to improve upon oneself became the most important thing. So they keep on doing it. They keep on doing it. They keep on doing it. They let it guide all their decisions. And it's not the way. You got to trust the inner authority and the type strategy, as far as I'm concerned. Over here in the solar plexus, we have the avoiding of confrontation, the avoiding of the truth, the avoiding of problems. And so perhaps in the fantasies of an undefined solar plexus mind, the desire is to live a life without any problems, without any hassles, without any confrontations, without any truth, ultimately. And in the fantasy of that, one can imagine the feeling of living a life where there is not conflict. One can enjoy that. One can even taste that in their imagination. And so long as it doesn't guide their decision-making in this life, it's not a problem. So long as it's not becoming amplified into resistance, it's not a problem. Down here in the root center, this one's fun. This one is being busy for busy's sake, always needing to do. Get it done, get it over with so that we can move on. Get it done, get it over with so we can move on. And if this person allows that pressure to exist as it is, without resisting like, oh, I have this massive feeling I need to get it done right now. If they can allow their mind to engage with that thought and move on from it, like, yep, okay, that's fun, I guess. Maybe that is what I want. Maybe I do want to simply relax and do nothing all the time. Maybe I simply want to be busy. Whatever feels good in your vehicle, in your system, can be your fantasy. And if you don't let that fantasy guide every decision, if you don't let that fantasy rule every decision, mind you, if you allow your inner authority and type strategy to guide your decision making along the way of your mental fantasizing of whatever it is you're interested in, then it's not a problem. Over here in the splenic center, it's holding on to what is bad for you. It's trying to hold on to something that, even though it's not so good or comfortable, it's familiar, and something else could be way worse. And so I imagine in the fantasy of this undefined spleen, the desire is to find something I can finally hold on to and it will be good. I can find something that I can latch onto and really, this feels good. This is worthy of holding on to. And yet the wisdom of this center is around that minimum effective dose. For some people with this center undefined, the splenic center, it can be suggested to try out homeopathic medicine because in this cleansing center, there is powerful transformational wisdom available that when undefined can make gigantic differences out of a tiny little vibration. And so whatever you find yourself fantasizing about, if you allow that fantasy to exist in your mind and you don't resist it, you don't create problems of, oh, well, that wouldn't work because of this, or oh, that doesn't make sense because of that, and if I hold on to this thing, it'll be really bad for me. Hold on. Do you actually want that thing or not? If you let yourself feel it, like, yeah, I want that, it feels good, and then move on to the next one. What else feels good? What else feels good? What else feels good? So long as you're making decisions from your inner authority, it's all gravy. Up here in the throat center, this is the need for attention. So people with this center undefined tend to need attention from others, like all eyes on me, look at me, look at me. If you're looking at me, now I feel validated, now I feel good because I exist. I exist because you're looking at me, so they think. So the not self may think. And so in the fantasies of this center, perhaps they love that idea of having all eyes on them. Perhaps they love the idea of having a lot of attention on them. And perhaps they can fantasize about that. Like, yes, I can feel this. And they can even access the wisdom of how to master gathering and dispersing attention over time with this undefined center. And so I see nothing wrong with engaging on the fantasy, so long as you know your decision-making mechanism. Enjoy a daydream that feels good. Allow your vibration to rise. Allow your sense of love and appreciation for life and self-acceptance to be present, to look from the present into the future with compassion, with love, with joy, with positive expectation. I don't know all the details of how I'm going to get there or what's exactly going to happen, and I know it's okay. Because I'm reverse engineering from my fantasy by allowing my body to live its life. Up here in the undefined ajna center, this is all about pretending to be certain on things. And so perhaps the fantasy is, oh, now I've finally found the system. I finally found the logical construct or the abstract way of thinking that I can be certain about. And now I've finally found it, and all I got to do is study and practice this thing, and I can be certain, finally. And then real life shows up and, oh, they try to be certain about something and, hey, look at that. That was the exception. And here's why. You know, it's magic how this law of attraction actually works. How the hologram of separation holds us together. through the agency of the magnetic monopole. As we move along the space-time geometry that our vehicle, our spaceship, is actually designed to move. Up here in the crown center, this is all about inspiration in the mind. So what does matter? What doesn't matter? What a profound place to be. Does this matter? Does it not matter? Well, let me fantasize about that. Does it really matter? Does it really matter? Does it really matter? Does it matter that I feel good? I'd say it does. I'm a generator aura type. If I don't have access to my satisfaction, then I am generating a frustrated field. And nobody likes that. Now, if I'm generating a satisfied field, if I'm happy with my life, it's good, it's great, it's wonderful. Even if it's not all sunshine and rainbows, it feels good. And the people around me can feel it if they're paying attention. And so maybe this person with an undefined crown center finds themselves fantasizing about things that don't matter. Is it a big deal? Well, that comes down to the single question. Is that your decision-making agent? Or is it simply a fantasy of your mind? Are you aware of the fantasies of your mind? Are you allowing of those fantasies to be what they are without resisting them? Are you allowing the body to make decisions in its life while your mind engages in the fantasies that are allowed by the body it's contained within? To me, that sounds really important. Lastly, down here, we have the sacral center. If this one is defined, you are automatically a generator, and if it's not defined, you're either a projector, a reflector, or a manifester. And so for these people, the law of attraction, I feel, is especially valuable to be in touch with. Especially valuable for the manifestors, the projectors, and the reflectors. Because you don't have an inner yes-no guidance mechanism. You might have a spleen that's going to tell you in the moment. You might have emotions that you got to feel through before you get there. You might have an ego that lets you know, because you can feel it, whether or not you have the energy for something. You might be self-projected or otherwise complex, in which case you have to soundboard and communicate with other people about your desires and hear what's coming out of your mouth and how that really makes you feel. You might be lunar authority. You might be a reflector, in which case you really have to have patience and see life through these long-term cycles. And regardless of which authority mechanism you have, if it's non-sacral, especially, I think it's of worthy consideration, it's of worthy experimentation to consider tending to your vibration. Am I thinking about what I don't want and how to get away from it? Or am I thinking about what I do want and what a joy it is that I am moving towards it, no matter how long or short a duration of time it takes to get there? Because if you know you're going towards your desires, that's the fundamental direction of satisfaction. That's the fundamental nature of this life force energy. And even if you don't have a sacral defined, you do have life force. You are an agent of the life force on this planet simply by existing, by breathing, by thinking, by feeling. And I know Ra said that those emotions, it's simply chemistry. And the thing is we've discovered that what you're thinking about and how you think about it influences your biochemistry. For more information on that, feel free to check out Joe Dispenza's work. He's done some miraculous things with many people and with great studies that I'd like to see more and learn more about myself, because they've got doctors going in, that's not possible. That's not what happens here. And it turns out that's what the studies show, that we can have rapid, radical healings when people absolutely release all of their resistance to what they want. You can have a crippled person who's in a wheelchair who suddenly relieves themselves of all resistance to walking, and they get up and they walk away. And that can be influenced purely on their own and their own belief and the timing of, oh, now it's time to let go. It can also be a group setting with a lot of people working together to send love and joy and hope and beauty and bliss at a specific person, and they can receive it and release their resistance. And so this is a place where I do want to give that reminder once more of follow your strategy and authority, as Ra always said. Because with the undefined sacral center, you don't know when enough is enough. And if you spend all of your time purely fantasizing about your desire and you have no more motion towards it on the material plane, then you'll be severely tested, I would say. You would be strongly tested. Is your vibration so sturdy that the material world can shift and change and transform around you without your vibration lowering? Now, that's a powerful challenge. And so without knowing when enough is enough, that could become dangerous. And so as always, trust your inner authority. Trust your type strategy. I wish you well. And bye for now.
If you have enjoyed the show and would like to learn more about how all of this applies specifically to you, then kindly refer to the link in this video's description, Private Consultation. Here, we can dive into all of the details together in a recorded call. May your signature vibration of satisfaction, success, peace, and surprise find you in a good way.